In Washington, the boundary between politics and public service is constantly tested, and confirmation hearings often bring that tension into sharp focus. Welcome back to Congress Unpacked, where we cut through the spin to show you what's really happening inside Congress. Today's focus was a heated Senate confirmation hearing, putting Val Demings, the former Congresswoman and police chief, squarely in the spotlight. Senator Josh Hawley set aside her resume and years of public service, instead targeting a more personal issue: her past comments about former President Donald Trump. Hawley pressed Demings on statements in which she described Trump as someone who does not believe in democracy. He criticized the remarks as irresponsible and questioned whether she could remain impartial in a role serving under someone she had publicly criticized. Demings responded firmly, emphasizing her record of bipartisan collaboration and results-driven service. She stated, "My political opinions will never negatively impact the work before us. Strengthening the Postal Service is a big task, and we can only do that by working together."
Congresswoman, let me just ask you about a little bit of your rhetoric that, I'll be honest with you, I find a little bit worrisome, and give you a chance to address it. Because this is a nonpartisan position for which you are being nominated, and I realize you've been in partisan politics, and that's fine. I'm in partisan politics, but that's not this position. So let me just ask you about a thing or two that you've said that I find a little worrisome. Let's start with the democracy one. We heard a lot of talk in this most recent election now concluded about Republicans, and particularly the now president-elect, being a fascist, which I think is incredibly irresponsible rhetoric. You said things like that, I think, Congresswoman. Kamala Harris believes in democracy, Donald Trump does not. What's left to say? That's just from a little over a month ago, 2 months ago, September 10th. Do you want to address that? Just give me your perspective. Give us your perspective for the record about how you see this role, about this rhetoric. Let me just give you a chance to respond. There's one more I want to ask you about after this.
And I thank you for that, Senator Hawley. You know, having served as a law enforcement officer, as a police chief, certainly as a member of Congress, I've certainly had opinions about the behavior of individuals on both sides of the aisle. But what I can assure you is that whether as a law enforcement officer or as a member of Congress or as a member of the Board of Governors, that my political opinions will never negatively impact the work that is before us on this very bipartisan board. Matter of fact, I currently travel all over the country, asked to do so, along with former Republican members, to talk about the importance of working together in a bipartisan way. I believe it is the only way that we can get the big things done. And strengthening the post office is a big thing that we need to get done.
Last question.
Hawley pressed further, citing Demings' past remarks that Trump's actions on January 6 might disqualify him from office. He reminded her that the Supreme Court had rejected that claim and asked whether, given Trump's potential return to the White House, she could carry out her duties impartially. Demings replied, "The American people have spoken, and I respect their decision. Any opinions from that time will not affect my commitment to strengthening the Postal Service and serving all Americans." She added a personal note, recalling that she attended Trump's first inauguration despite not supporting him, emphasizing that respecting the voters' will remains her priority.
Question for you on the same topic. Let's look at the other one. This is about the current president-elect's ability, constitutional right to serve. You said after the Civil War, we ratified the 14th Amendment. It says people try to overthrow the government should be banned. Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government. This was in reference to the cases that tried to get the former president, now future president, kicked off the ballot. I'm deeply concerned about those cases. They failed, as you know. The U.S. Supreme Court weighed in on this 9-0, said absolutely not. This is up to the people to decide. My question for you is that since this time, since you said that, he's been reelected. He's going to be the next president. If you're confirmed for this, you're going to serve under him effectively. Are you able to do that? And just comment on this, which you said, and your potential future role.
Senator Hawley, when President Trump was first elected in 2016, he was not my candidate. But I went to his inauguration because the American people had spoken. And I wanted to, in a very unified way, be there to support the President of the United States because the people had spoken. I believed it was a free and fair election, and it was important for the country to move forward. I was in the House chambers on January 6th. As you well remember, it was a tough time for our nation, I think, for the members of Congress and the American people. Expressing my opinion coming out of that very tough time, we moved forward. The same person has been reelected. The American people have spoken, and I respect the will of the people. Again, I can assure you that any personal opinions or things that were said during a specific time in our history will not negatively impact my commitment to working with the Board of Governors to protect and strengthen the United States Postal Service so those people who live in rural areas that we both care about can receive the service that they deserve. Thank you.
What unfolded today wasn't just political theater. It was a real test of whether nominees can set aside personal politics to serve the public. And that question resonates across Washington. For clear, independent coverage of the moments that truly shape Congress, subscribe to Congress Unpacked. Here, we don't just report, we hold power to account.